Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is 1Q. Today we are going to talk about career fairs. I know that a lot of the fall career fairs have either already started or is going to start in your school in the next couple of weeks. Today I'm going to give you some tips on career fairs. For this video, it's more geared towards international students and the challenges that we face. I want to divide this video into before career fair, during the career fair, and after the career fair. First, for the before career fair, make sure to watch other YouTube videos and tutorials on tips and tricks of career fair, because seriously, there are so many beautiful resources on not only YouTube, but all the platforms, even Google. Instead of asking your random friend or just going into a career fair with no idea of what this is. Make sure you go to check out all the resources. I personally checked out so many YouTube videos. I will link some of them down below that I think is really good advice. So that's my first unconventional advice. Second one is for researching companies. Definitely, I think for international students, we have to do more than American students because a lot of the companies we are definitely not familiar with. For example, my industry, construction, literally came into the United States without knowing literally any of US based. Just going on to company pages and see what projects they do, and also go on LinkedIn and you can get the idea of their location, their staff number, so that you can get an idea. Is it a big one? Is it a small one? Where is the headquarters based? Is that somewhere that you want to go? And also another thing that you want to research is the value of the company. So US is huge in company culture. Each company have their unique value. So if you can make sure that you capture those value terms and use it during the career fair, you might be able to stand out. Another thing before the career fair you should definitely do is prepare questions. I know that a lot of people may focus on your own elevator pitch, just going over how awesome you are, all the beautiful things you did over the past year or so. But again, during the career fair, you're not only selling yourself, you're also trying to get an idea of, is the company really match the company culture that they talk about? What is the actual opportunity and working situation for their employees? If you want to know what questions should I ask, go on Google search. You will find 7 best questions to ask during a career fair. Here I will give you a few examples. One is definitely I want to ask that person, what is your role in this company? I want to talk to a person that I want to be in his or her position 5 years from now, or things like that. That would be the most ideal situation. How long have you been with the company? How was your experience with the company? How did you start it? What projects are you currently working on? And then if his or her project is really interesting, I would ask if I go into the company, would I have the same opportunity of having my hands on that particular type of project or something? And some of the other things what I would ask either during an interview or a career fair is, what is your biggest challenge when you first started this role? So that after he talks about, something was really off when I first started, I would be hey, then what can I do if I want to go into this position? How do I better prepare myself into this role? Or, how would I better prepare for this particular situation? Another thing I would definitely ask about is some of the things that I personally care about. For example, diversity and inclusion. For construction companies or STEM related companies, I would definitely ask, what are some of the women initiative or women and minority initiatives in the company? Is there a mentorship program? Is there a group? Are there any interest group or initiative in the company that I can be a part of if I join? So those are some of the good questions you want to ask, and then you want to evaluate the answers of each company and really make sure you get a feeling of, okay, what this company is really about. You probably won't get the whole thing, but at least you get a gist of it. Also, during COVID, I remember my internship got canceled. Going into the career fair after 2020, I usually ask the company like, how did the company handle the COVID situation? And I would, and especially if you were talking with an HR instead of, talking with a manager or engineer, I would totally ask that question. And they are probably going to share what they personally did or the HR team did to help the total, like the company employees. So I think that is a very good question. And also the diversity and inclusion initiative is also a really good question for the HR. They really love that question and they would talk about it for a long time. During the career fair, I want to stress that it's not just about you. You want to make sure that the other person in the conversation is also enjoying the conversation and sharing about their experience. People love talking about themselves. Make sure you give the other person that opportunity. Another thing to do before the career fair is to apply for the positions that you want to go into beforehand, so that during the career fair, they usually say like, oh, apply online, so that you can say, I already did, so what are the next steps? So with that, let's move into during the career fair. During the career fair, one thing that people doesn't talk about in career fair tips is that show that extra energy, be enthusiastic and happy to be there. I know that maybe you're not happy. Maybe you think career fair is hell and it's like not the best experience, but you have to either fake it or really change your mindset of, hey, this is a big opportunity that I can get my dream job. So like really pump yourself up. And then when you go in a career fair, either online, like people would tell your energy level. So what I would do is I would always show the best and the most extroverted self during the career fair and be like really interested in what they're talking about and ask a bunch of questions and smile and have a great conversation, crack a bunch of jokes, really make that conversation lively. This is an opportunity where you can meet so many companies. Like, where do you get that opportunity, right? Go to every company and try to ask the most interesting questions and really get those people thinking. If you're an academic person, like think of it as a social experiment, collect samples and evaluate, right? And then come up with conclusions of which is the optimized company that I want to go. This is something that for international students can be a little challenging. A lot of our cultures, we're either super professional or we want to be humble and quiet and really not express ourselves that much. But here in the United States, like expressing yourself is just very important. And second, I want to say is that learn about how to continue with the conversations, like how to do small talks. When you go into a person, like don't just go straight into what is your company about? Like I need this job. Like don't be so desperate and think of that person as a tool of, hey, I need to get in, like what should I do? So start a conversation. How are you? Right? Like ask that person, how are you doing? If they drive from like somewhere else, like how was your drive? How was your trip? If that person is an alum of your university, you can totally talk about the classes and the professors, Definitely think of the other person as human. If you are having trouble with continuing or starting a conversation, practice that, right? I personally used to practice that on Uber drivers. I used to watch talk shows just to see the interactions between the two people and how to react or be proactive during a conversation. Like I would watch the dynamic of a talk show to learn how to go about a conversation. Also, like when you do all those networking, that's another great opportunity for you to know what is the best way to continue or start a professional conversation in a professional setting. So in the career fair, you want to be somewhat casual but also professional, right? Another set of really important questions is logistic questions. So I would always ask what are their hiring timeline look like, and when am I expected to hear back from them after this career fair. Different companies would have very different answers. Some companies, they want to finish all the career fairs in all the universities before they begin their interview. Some companies begin their interview like the next day. So you want to make sure that you have that timeline in hand. And I would also ask contact information. If they say like, no, like our company don't allow us to give students our work emails or something, remember to write their names down, and then you know what the company they work for, and then when you come back, you can search them on LinkedIn and do that follow-up. Another thing that I want to talk about during the career fair is that take notes. So when you go to a career fair, you have your portfolio, you have your resume on one side, and the other side should be a notepad. And when you talk to that person, make sure you take really specific notes about the really important information like this company. And if you talked about some values, make sure you note down the values. If that person talked about their roles and their experience, their project name, you want to make sure that you note that down. And in the end, the timeline. And after the career fair, I think, again, YouTube videos talk about, but follow up and send a thank you note. There are different theories of when you want to send a thank you note. I had people telling me, after a week or after 2 weeks. Some people say within 24 hours. It definitely depends on when the career fair happens. So if it happened on Thursday, I would probably send it on Friday or Monday. If it happened on Friday, definitely Monday. So I would wait for like either 24 to 48 hours and of business hours. When you send a thank you note, again, there are definitely templates online that you can search for. So like, thank you so much for talking to me at the blah 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 career fair. I really enjoyed our conversation about blah blah blah. I want to again express my interest in blah 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 position, which I already applied for. I just want to attach my resume for your reference. I look forward to hearing back from blah blah company or something. For international students, there are some of the things that we probably don't want to do. One of the things that I don't suggest international students do is that ask for sponsorship to that person at the booth, especially if that person is a non-HR person. So those people are probably really not familiar with how the sponsorship works and what it means to be like an international student or a professional. So they probably give you the wrong information, or they just can't give you the useful information that you're looking for. And third, I really don't want those people to judge me based on my international status. So I want to focus on the real conversation of how my experience linked to, your company, and I want to learn the company and I want to learn your experience. I don't want you to focus on, oh, shoot, like she's not a citizen, so it will probably scare them off, or they might be confused. So I don't want that to happen. Also, if it's an HR, I would also don't ask unless they explicitly say like, oh, are you an international student? I would definitely be very honest and say yes, and I do require sponsorship. And they would probably say like, oh, like sorry, we don't sponsor. Like that's okay, but I wouldn't say like, do you sponsor, because a lot of times companies, they would say that they don't sponsor, but they ended up do. If you really look on some of the website of where you can see different companies sponsor H-1B or green card, they actually sponsor, but they just say that they don't during the career fair so that there won't be a bunch of international students flushing into their company booth and looking for sponsorship. Like they want to find the right candidate before they evaluate like your sponsorship situation. So I wouldn't focus too much on that. I would focus on maximizing your chances of getting an interview. Another thing that I don't suggest international students do is solely focusing on your technical qualifications. So this one I've noticed our mentality, especially coming from an Asian country, like our mentality is that I need to meet a certain requirement or certification or like a certain skill, and by that skill it has to be technical level. That's not usually how it works in the United States. I mean, yes, there are like minimum requirements but it's really easy to get a minimum requirement. A lot of international students would be like, oh, do you require proficiency in Excel? Do you require proficiency in blah blah programming language or blah blah software? A lot of the times their answer would be like, yeah, of course it's nice to have it, but we really don't look for, like, it's an entry-level position, we're gonna train you anyways. And also, like, technical skills are very easy to acquire compared to a lot of the soft skills. This is a thing that I found over the years, because like you can simply learn a software if you already took the classes that required in your program, in your major. You probably already know that, and probably all of the people know that. So what stands you out is your experience, your soft skills, your passion, things that we seem very intangible, but is actually very important. But sometimes we overlook them, and so sometimes we don't have them. Communication skills, conversation skills, leadership, and the ability to have a professional interaction with people, client facing. Things like this could make a huge difference during a career fair or even an interview. Sometimes it's these things that differentiate yourself, and these things that make you unqualified as well. And for certifications, a lot of the companies would actually train or invest their employees to take those certification exams after they go into a job. I talked to a company before, and I'm already really familiar with the company. I just explicitly asked the director of construction, or whatever his title was, and I asked him like, how much do you care about a blah blah certification? He was like, we would never hire somebody just because of that person had a certification, or just because that person had know how to use a particular software. It's always about experience and those soft skills, and how passionate you are about this industry, the why behind you coming to that company. So still work on your technical skills, still take classes, do well in them. You know, if you have a technical skill, definitely put it on the resume, but during the career fair, you might want to sell something else other than that technical skill. Some of the general advice that I want to give, definitely, first of all, go to all the career fairs that you can possibly go to that are relevant to your industry or the position that you're looking for, so that you make sure you maximize the chances of talking to as many companies as possible and maximize your chance of getting a position. Second is that practice makes perfect. If you are going to your first career fair right before your graduation, you're already putting yourself in a bad position. So you make sure that, you know, you have some practice rounds before by looking for internships. And third is that you want to talk to as many companies as possible. This advice, I think, for international students apply very well, especially when you're looking at an internship. The internship position doesn't have to be perfect. So as long as you get one and get that experience on your resume. Another thing that I found over the years is that the more experience you had, especially work experience, the better chance of you getting anything at the career fair. This is just, it is so common sense, but it's so important. I remember going to my first career fair, not knowing anything, don't have like a lot of things on my resume. All of my experience are based in China. It was so hard to find anything. It was so hard to have even people looking or having a proper conversation with you. It was definitely discouraging, but you just have to go through that. And as I go from 2019, 2020, and 2021, if I go to a career fair, they see my resume, they peek at it for like 5 seconds, and they were like, wow, that's a lot of experience. And they would really talk to me, and some of them would even ask like, how did you do all this and all of that? So I want to say, like, yes, career fair is like the most moment for you to shine, but there are so much more that goes behind it. Make sure you get as many experience onto that resume so that when you actually go to a career fair, when you presented that resume, you are already in a pretty good spot. Last but not least, you can do this. I know it's hard. I know it can be really scary, especially if it's your first or second one. It's really hard, but as long as you be prepared and practice, you can do this. I promise you, you will rock that career fair and get your dream job. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, ask any questions in the comment. See you next time. Bye.